This video is going to be an add-on to the previous Mod 2 video, but will just be specifically on the show me tell me questions you can get asked at the start of the test, and also the questions you can get asked about having a pillion passenger. There is only a possibility of getting asked 13 individual questions, and I'm going to be going through all of them using my bike as an example, which is a Yamaha R125. But the majority of the same principles apply, so it's just going to be used as a reference. So the first question is, identify where you would check the engine oil level and to show and how you would check that the engine has sufficient oil. So you don't have to actually take out the dipstick for this, but some bikes there's actually a sight glass which you can just use. So you just show them, you check between the min or max marks, or with the dipstick you just say you remove it, you wipe it clean against the cloth, and you check between the min and max marks for that. But again, you don't actually have to remove the dipstick for that. Next question is to show them how you check the horn is working. So you just simply turn on the ignition and you press the horn to show them the operation. If the horn doesn't sound, then it's not your lucky day. The next question could be to identify where the brake fluid reservoir is. So for the rear brakes, it's usually above the rear brake lever, and for the front brakes it's usually by the front brake lever. And once identified, you just tell the examiner, you check levels against the low and the high markings. So the next question is to show how the brake lights are working. So you simply, on some bikes you may not have to turn it on the ignition, on some you do. If you do, just turn on the ignition and either press the rear brake lever, put your hand against it, the lights, and you can see the reflection, or you can do the same with the front brake lever. You can also say you can use someone else to help you with that, or use any reflections in windows. So the next question could be on how you would check the condition of the chain. So you just say you'd check for wear or the correct tension, and you'd also check the rear wheel alignment. You can also say the drive chain should be lubricated to prevent excessive wear. So for the next question, show me what checks you would make on steering movement before using the bike. So you would just say the handlebar should be free to move from full left lock to full right lock without any cables being trapped, stretched or pinched, and without any snagging between moving or fixed parts. So the next question you could be asked on tyres. You'd want to make sure in terms of getting the correct tyre pressure, you'd want to use the pressure found on the owner's manual, and the pressure should be checked using a reliable gauge. Also, the tread depth should be at least 1 millimeter deep, forming a continuous band, at least 3/4 of the breadth of the tread all the way around, and there should be no lumps, bulges or tears with the tyre. So with the question on the operation of the front brake, just put the bike up straight and put up the kickstand, wheel the bike forward and gently press on the brakes, and there should be a small compression with the fork showing that the front brakes work. Just put it back down. With the question showing how you check the operation of the brakes, so this is the general one, you don't actually have to do anything, but you just mention you check for excessive travel on the brake lever, and with the brake pedal you'd have to check for unusual play or sponginess, just to make sure it feels as it would do normally. Okay, the next question would be to show them how you check the operation of the engine cutout switch. So on most bikes it is red and quite obvious, so you just simply flick the switch. You do not actually have to turn your bike, but as a demonstration on how it would work, So if it works fine, it should just simply cut out the engine without having to turn off the ignition. But again, you do not have to turn on the ignition for this. If you have any fog lights fitted on your bike, you could get asked on how to use it. So you just have the switch and you'd go around the back checking it's on. But if you don't worry about this. And with the question, you could get asked how you'd switch your headlight from the dipped to the main beam. So just switch on your bike or the ignition and turn on the switch, which will change it from dip to main beam. Again, you can just go around the front after you've done this to check it's on. And on the dash, there should be an indication of the symbol for the main beam. Again, it's up to you if you want to turn on the ignition to do this. And if in any doubt, just ask your examiner, who would be more than helpful in letting you know. So with all those questions covered now, those are the only questions you can get asked regarding the show me tell me ones. Afterwards, you can get asked questions about carrying a pillion passenger and also any other adjustments you may need to make because of that. So there are three main categories. The first one will be on what adjustments you'd need to make before carrying a pillion. So first bit, you can say to increase the tire pressure. So you'd increase it as necessary according to your owner's manual due to the extra weight. Secondly, you can say you may need to adjust the rear suspension. Also, you can say with the mirrors you may need to tilt it upwards to account for the extra weight. And lastly, for the headlights, you might have to adjust it downwards. For the second category, it will be on what information you would give to a pillion before taking them on the bike. So there's quite a bit of different answers you can give for this. So with number one, you tell them to keep their feet on the pegs at all times. You should tell them to hold onto the bike either by the grab rails or by holding onto the rider, depending on whichever is safer or easier for the pillion. Also, you can tell them to lean with the rider around corners, or tell them the best way to communicate with you if there's any problem. For example, a tap on the shoulder. Also, tell them to don't do any other hand signals apart from this. And lastly, to not mount or dismount the bike until told to do so. Okay, and with the last category, how carrying a pillion affects your motorcycle. Again, couple points on this. You can mention when pulling away, you'd have to give more throttle, but also be steady with the clutch. You can also mention with regards to braking, you need to take into account the increased braking distance needed to stop at the required point, which basically affects the 2-second rule. So lastly, you can mention cornering, where you need to take corners slower to account for the weight. And that covers everything. I hope this has helped. If you haven't already done so, please check out my Mod 1 and Mod 2 video.